Started getting involved in cigarettes. The jail sentence was a lot lower. It was a lot easier to do, and it was a lot quicker money. And we started doing that, and then probably a year down the line, we got arrested with £60 million worth of cigarettes. So we've gone from like council estate lads to earning a lot of money a day, and I think because where we were from, we never seen money the way we should have seen it. We seen money as like we're going out and partying, and obviously for 4 or 5 days we'd go out and party. There's times when we went out in Liverpool on a Saturday night, and we've basically woke up in Tenerife or Spain on a Thursday or Friday after being out for 5 days. And unfortunately, that was the life you lead while you're involved in and around drugs. Ended up going to prison, got 6 years down to 4 for the cigarettes with a £14 million confiscation. I was in court doing my proceeds of crime, and what happened was kept going on about English waters, and 16 of my consignments were still in Europe. So I asked the judge what he meant about English waters. He said, well, anything crosses through Mr. Burton, it comes into England, then obviously you've evaded duty. I said, but 16 of them wagons were still in Europe, and I could see the prosecution's face just drop. I knew all about crime, and I knew all about how courts work and stuff. Ended up getting that 14 million down to 1 million. Obviously, they took all my assets, nightclubs, shops, stuff like that, and took what money I had or what they found. And then I went into prison in 2004. I've basically been put in prison where a lot of people I know. And because I was a really high case with a lot of value money, I did have a lot of people trying to get into me and work and stuff like that. And I was angry. I was angry that the authorities took everything I'd worked for, even though it was criminal. And then I come out of prison in 2006 and basically was angry, and I started getting involved in, South America, Morocco, obviously Turkey. I've been all over the world with different mafias in Mexico, and ended up getting involved in drugs, and I wanted to make that money back. And then in 2011, I had a gut feeling before I'd done something, so I never done it. That was a good job I never done it, because I'd have probably got 25, 30 years for it. And that gut feeling's probably saved me. I shouldn't have got 19 years, but I got it. I took it on the chin. And I basically changed from, I think 3 years in, I used a mobile phone in prison. And 2 days later, the NCA come in for me. And basically from that day onwards, I never looked back of, I'm going to change my life. I'm not going through this no more. And I ended up, I got barred from all of the prisons. Wanted to come out of the Cat A unit. I was in the Cat A unit for, I think, about 14 months. And then once I come out of the Cat A unit, my days and numbers were marked in the Northwest. It was barred from all Northwest prisons. And for a cat, I had to go to Wolverhampton, which was Oakwood, which was a brand new jail at the time. But it was probably the start of me rehabilitating properly. And spoke to a governor in there, John McLaughlin. Never ever spoke to a governor in my life. You don't get near them in Cat A's and Cat B's. And then he come over, John, and he went, "You have a game of snooker?" I went, I didn't know he was the governor at the time. And I went, "Yeah, go ahead, mate." Didn't tell me he was an ex-professional player. He absolutely hammered me. And I got on with him from that day onwards. And you know what? He gave me a little bit of good advice and encouragement, and I took it on board. And then I ended up changing all the food in the visitor room in HMP Oakwood, because our visitors were the first people who come into that prison. And I was down there last year, and everything had changed from them buying stuff in and putting it out soggy. I made everything fresh, and I was down there last year, and everything was still the same. So 10 years later, it was really good to see like stuff you've done in there. And obviously, I've never been one. I don't like bullies, Murray. If we have any bullies, we put a stop to it. You know what I mean? So I've always found that I've helped people in the system, going out the system all along the way. Then coming out of Wolverhampton, I wanted to go to Kirkham or Thorncross, and I got black marked again and ended up on the Isle of Sheppey. Well, that Isle of Sheppey was 17, 18 hours for my children on a round trip, just to come and see me for an hour. And I went, "Man, I'm not doing this no more." And then I spoke to another governor in there, a guy called Jim Padley. Told him about an idea I had to build an app just to give people the right services and the right directions to go, if they needed like dentists, doctors, opticians, if they needed somewhere to go for housing, education, training. and most of all employment, because I believe if we've got employment going out the gate, then it's going to reduce the risk of anyone reoffending if it's a good job with decent employment, but you can actually grow in it. And I'd done the app, and give the governor his due. He used to let me go outside the prison to the cafe and do my research. And I ended up building, I got out in 2017 then, done a presentation to the governor. When I first met the governor 14 months before, I was 17, 18 stone with a skinhead. And obviously he did say I frightened the life out of him. And 14 months later, I grew my hair, lost 5 stone. And he didn't even recognise me when I went into his office. So I always knew if I had to change within me first. You know, it's pointless going in to speak to young people or speak to prisoners when you're full of steroids with a skinhead with a big mouth. It just didn't work. So I changed everything about me. On the day of release, I found out that I weren't allowed back in Liverpool. So I ended up going to Cheshire for 2 months or 3 months while I see my children. And then I moved back down to Kent, back where I was in prison. Got to know the area. Wanted to go around to like third sector organisations and find out a bit more about what they're doing with funding. I do believe that a bum should be on a seat in any classroom, but I do also believe there should be an opportunity of a job at the end of the course. And I disapprove in people getting funding, putting a course on, and not even giving anyone a job. I just think that's just defeating everything about what our ethos is at Inside Connections. And then had my app built, 218. Ended up getting a call off Wilmot Dixon about a £30 million job they had, building a new car park. Believe it or not, it was actually in Liverpool docks, and I was barred from there. But the police and the probation and everyone's seen what I've been doing over the 2 years of being out. And we went and had a meeting with them, and they allowed me to come out. And I ended up back on, it was September 2019. I got the first 12 Rottle lads out of a Cat D establishment, and I took them down to the site, what we were doing with Wilmot Dixon. We interviewed them, done all the risk assessments and stuff first. And then we took them down, and we had all the supply chain. It was on that site, from like steel fixers, floor concreters, joiners, etc. And we had a big meeting. We had a 2-week introduction to construction, and every one of them got jobs. So for me, it was just like the first time I've done my own funds and my own course, and I've done a 2-week introduction to construction where I had a CSCS card on the end. That's what people need to get on site. All these 10, 12, 15, 3-month courses, it doesn't need to be done. Employability doesn't need to be done. Customer care, it depends what type of job you're going in for. So we've done it. We got them all on site. Just before Christmas, we'd done another interviews, got another 15 out. We had 27 out, I think it was at the time. And then we all come to March 2020. And then we all went in lockdown.